2, 3, 4.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Power of Music Thinking. My name is Christoph Zürn, and this is the podcast for people with a musical heart and a wicked job. We're looking for stories, insights and tools from the big world of music to inspire leaders and followers to listen, tune, play, and perform in whatever field you're operating. One of the great myths of a modern career is that you have to choose just one path. My guest today, Jessica Wan, is living proof that you absolutely don't. Her career has taken her from leading marketing teams at world-renowned organizations like Apple and the San Francisco Opera to becoming a sought-after executive coach. And running parallel all of this, she's a classical trained singer preparing for her next recital. She champions a philosophy she calls the Ampersand Manifesto, which is also the name of her podcast, which celebrates people who connect multi-passions and professions. It's a really inspiring chat about embracing all parts of who you are. And as a special treat, you will also hear a sneak peek from Jessica's recital, where she sings a song together with the audience that was popular everywhere in Taiwan in the 80s and 90s, called "The Moon Represents My Heart." So, let's dive into the conversation. Welcome, Jessica. Welcome to the Power of Music Thinking.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I really was looking forward to this session. It's really nice to talk with someone that is in some way equal to me, because we both have a podcast. So, but that about later. And it looks like we're playing in the same area.
We are. I'm happy. I'm honored to be considered a peer of yours, Christoph. So that's awesome.
Okay. All right. Let me start with my first question, which is the same in every episode. Every listener knows. So what was your first or most memorable sonic experience or an album or a concert that had an impact on you?
Well, I'll go with an early one. And it's interesting because I perform primarily as an opera and classical singer. And I was brought up in the kind of Western classical tradition of studying music. I played many instruments. But funny enough, my first sonic experience is not classical, the one that I recall. It is Chinese pop music. It's what was played on our first cassette tapes when I was growing up, and then CDs and laser discs, which my parents had, being immigrants from Taiwan.
We have to explain to people who don't know a laser disc how it looks like.
Yes, a laser disc is like a really big, thick CD. So it's roughly the size of vinyl, but it was a CD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really like, wow, this is the future. But now Laserdisc, I think most of people don't know what it is.
I know. I mean, growing up in the 80s and 90s, my family had a Betamax and a VHS, and to refresh any younger listeners, back then those were videotapes, and there used to be a company called Beta that disappeared because VHS got all the power, but we still had a few Beta videotapes growing up. Yeah.
And that was Chinese pop. That's interesting because we all know K-pop or J-pop, but frankly speaking, I didn't hear about C-pop.
Yeah. I don't think it expanded as much to people of non-Chinese descent. And I'm not sure why. Maybe because mainland China was closed for such a long time. My parents were both born around when the Chinese Civil War was happening in the late 1940s. And they, while both of my grandfathers were on the nationalist side, which was the side that lost and was exiled to Taiwan. So that's where my parents grew up. They both went to university there, and then they immigrated in the 70s to Canada, and they brought the Chinese pop music with them. And in those days, a lot of our friends, family friends, were similar folks who had come from Taiwan to, get their graduate degrees in Canada and then later in the US. And so everybody knew these Chinese pop stars.
Wow, cool. So maybe if you have something we can put in the show notes so that we can listen to it. So I would love to, because I didn't hear about it. And maybe some people even like it because their J-pop and K-pop is so popular. And I would be interested in how this is going. If there is something from China, something unheard in the mainstream, maybe.
Well, it's funny because my knowledge of it is very limited to kind of the 80s and 90s. I have no idea what's going on now. But the song that comes to mind is, I think, almost anybody of my generation or older will know this song. It's called 月亮代表我的心 by Teresa Tang, Deng Lijun. So she, I think the song came out in the 70s or 80s, and it was played everywhere. And even when I went back to Taiwan to visit extended family in the 2000s, even the 2010s, it's still being played in department stores. It is this ever-present song. And the really fun thing is I'm covering the song, so I will be singing it on a recital on October 5th, which is all about the moon. So the song, translated to English, the title is called The Moon Represents My Heart. I guarantee some of your listeners will know it.
Okay, so you have to give me a link that I can put into the show notes.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Thanks for that. So, Jessica, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for a living, and then we can dive into all directions that we come across.
Sure. Well, when I was a young person, I was very much in the music world, even from a pretty young age. I started the piano around maybe 5 years old and took to it. In reflection, I think that music was a way for me to keep achieving and progressing, which is a very strong streak I have as an achiever. So music was the channel through that. And in the early years, I think I was very much a student of, I want to get an A on this Chopin nocturne, or I want to achieve it. I want to master it. And then later in life, I think I really, really began to enjoy performing music, interpreting music, and playing music with others. So I played piano, violin, oboe, and then in college, I started singing opera. I'd done some high school musicals, and that was fun, but I was very untrained. And it was in college where I started seriously singing. And then on the other side of me, as a young person, I loved math. I excelled at math. I loved physics. I found that very interesting. I loved, English classes. I loved school. And in college, I double majored in music and product design. And product design was and is this amazing major. This is even before design thinking took over the world. Product design was this major at Stanford where I went to undergrad. And it brought together mechanical engineering, psychology. I remember I even got to take improv as part of the major, which was amazing.
Wow.
And then from there, I worked in marketing for a design firm because that really was my strength of understanding people and connecting people to products or services. And before I knew it, I really had built a career in marketing. So I worked in the arts in marketing. I worked at Apple after business school. I worked and led marketing teams at 2 startups. And at that point, I felt like, I'd been doing marketing a long time. I'd been working on this connection between human needs and desires with what would fill those needs. And I had been managing people for about a decade. And that began to pull me in a new direction. So in 2022, I started my coaching practice. I am an executive coach for leaders in the workplace and a lot of folks who are kind of like me from a few years ago or a few years forward. I serve marketing leaders, executive directors of arts organizations, folks who work in tech and design, creative leaders, entrepreneurs. So it's a wildly fun job. I absolutely love it. And it also allows me to work on my podcast and also sing and be a mom. So I feel like life is very full these days in a wonderful way.
Nice. There's one pattern, that's the multi-pattern. So if I cycle back to your instruments, it's like the piano, so keys. It's the violin, strings. It's the hobo. It's winds. It's the voice. So it's the multi-talented. Or you could also say, or that's how I see it, you were approaching music from different directions, from different instruments, and you get a feel for it. And later, you're just, what was it? Was it just curiosity to dive into one part and the other, or was it that you could make a decision and so you took both?
I needed both. I think I've always wanted to weave together kind of the quote unquote left brain and right brain thinking. I would say that I'm very in the middle in terms of, traditionally analytical versus traditionally creative. I think in many ways, actually going to business school and getting an MBA, like that actually brought out a lot of creativity in me because I think that is a little more complementary. And being a musician, I have found that it's actually really helpful to think about some problems logically and rationally. And having a marketing background too helps me in every aspect of my work because, of course, as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, you need to promote yourself. And I have been doing marketing for kind of other people, other companies for a long time now. So I'm pretty comfortable just kind of taking it based on what I've been doing.
So talking about marketing and promotion as a solopreneur, I just want to take a quick pause to thank everyone for listening. This podcast is a listener-supported passion project, and there are a couple of ways you can help keep it going. The most direct way is by buying me a virtual coffee at ko-fi.com/musicthinking. That's ko-fi.com/musicthinking. Every single coffee helps cover production costs and is hugely appreciated. But if that's not possible, another fantastic and totally free way to support the show is to subscribe and leave a quick review or simply tell a friend who you think would enjoy it. It makes a huge difference in helping new listeners find us. And of course, you can also check out the Power of Music Thinking book or the Jam Cards, available wherever you buy books. Any of those things you choose to do means the world to me. So now back to our conversation. So the power of music thinking actually is like finding patterns in music and seeing if they have an analogy in the business world. And my hypothesis is always like a musician is when a musician is doing also other jobs, they still do that job as a musician. And as a musician, you have to promote yourself. Otherwise, no one knows where you are. And that's actually something, there's an easy link to marketing in that way. And I know a lot of musicians that don't like that part, but at the very end, they're all doing it. So it's there's a word for it also, like polymath or all the trades, or and I call it the end musician, and that's also a little bit linked to your podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my podcast is called the Ampersand Manifesto, and I talk to people who, like me, straddle two or more multiple fields it could be at once. It could be some focus on one and then some focus on another. I think everybody has their own path to that, but I'll just name some of the ones that people I've talked to who I just find so fascinating. So I talked to a woman who is a neuroscientist. So she has a PhD in neuroscience and is also a very talented Indian classical dancer who has studied dance her whole life. And she is connecting these fields and studying how studying dance can help with aging healthily, and dance's effects on the brain. So that's very cool. I talked with an entomologist. So that's someone who studies insects, who taught entomology, biology, and also is a journalist who has been documenting the kind of post-professional careers of professional athletes, which I think is kind of his passion. So just fascinating people. I talked with a poet who is also a biologist and has brought in kind of biology content into her poetry. So this is what I love, and I think there are a lot of people out there living a life that is multifaceted, multi-passionate, and I hope to bring some amplification to their stories.
Maybe we should explain the ampersand. Can you explain what it is?
Yes. Yeah. So ampersand. It's interesting. I actually did a short episode actually diving into the term ampersand.
Oh, good.
Did you know that ampersand actually used to be the 27th letter in the English alphabet?
Oh, really?
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And the way that the word came to be is by saying and per se, and really fast, that became the word ampersand. So it's like and in reference to itself.
And it's that funny little sign that looks like an 8 and something's going wrong.
Oh, so I had a visual artist reflect this to me one time, that if you think about an ampersand, it starts as a line and then it crosses over itself twice.
Yeah. Right.
And some people have said that it looks like a treble clef too. So I think there's all sorts of kind of musical, artistic, like it's not just a slash. It's not a division. It's a slash that goes on top of itself, which I think is very relevant for what we're talking about. So the kind of tagline to the podcast is making your mark in multiple fields. So
it's a connector. So
it's a connector,
like a bread and butter. And if you see it on the market, it's not bread and it's not butter. It's bread and butter. And in the German language, it's a Kaufmannsund, meaning it's the salesperson and. So it's like salesperson would not say, okay, this is bread and then write and butter. They would say bread and then make the ampersand and then butter, just to bring it together.
Now I'm hungry.
All right. That's very, very interesting. So being in different fields at the same time, and also, and I think that's so important about these talks and everything, all the passion that we share, that I assume that there might be listeners that maybe are not yet open to live fully in these parallel worlds. So like people that go to the work and in the evening they do something completely different, make music or dance or whatever. And I think that's a little bit like, and that's the ampersand. So how I see it, or the and, like, you could combine them. You could learn for your passion from your work, and you could learn for your work from your passion. I think that's what we have in common, that we make connections all the time, and analogies that are going further than just a metaphor, because metaphor is just a picture that you say, okay, this is this, okay. But when you dive deeper into, let's say, the music system, like an orchestra, how does an orchestra work? How does an opera work? The organizations, if you really would dive into it, I think many leaders would understand from, oh, wow, that's a little bit like my work, or a festival, for example. Is this something, are you using music in your work as an analogy? Is this something that you do, or is it more like it comes natural and you don't even talk about it?
I think it's fluctuated throughout the years, depending on what job I've had. And I think that it's contextual based on who I'm talking to. If I know you're a musician, gosh, we can just land in there very easily, right? And in a coaching session, I'm going to ask you for what you see. Typically I'm not going to hand it to you, right? So I have had a client who is very, very much an ampersand. We worked together for a while, and probably every single session we had several musical analogies that we could bear out to something in more detail. And then I think for others, it is interesting, because sometimes I hear from people that they want to work with me because I have a music background, even if they studied piano as a kid. They want to bring that back, which I think is so exciting.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is kind of, it depends. Like, if I know that you are a highly versed musical person, then yeah, we can go for it and have fun.
Yeah, I think that's the most important, just to start where your partner, your coachee is, and then see what fits. And actually, that's also what music does, or in improvisation. You first listen, and then you play. And if you're a musician, you can listen and play. That's what you...
Yeah.
So in your work, you also told me about that you use that ampersand not only in your podcast, but also something like gathering, a summit. Maybe
Yes.
It's interesting to share. So, because that's something where I thought, oh, that's easy. I also would like to bring different people together. But please share, what are you doing, and how do you approach this?
Yeah, I think that this has been fairly organic. And for me, it feels like the summit very much is the next evolution, or kind of a next iteration of the podcast's mission. So the podcast mission really is to elevate, to share, elevate, and celebrate these journeys that may seem outside of the norm, and to tackle some of the myths around being an ampersand. I think, just to name a few. Am I good enough to even say I'm an artist? Mm-hmm. Or if I'm not getting paid, is it real? By the way, the answer is yes, it is real. And am I a dabbler? People say that I can't commit. Well, if you've been doing something for 10, 20 years, like I would call that a commitment, right? Or if you studied an art form or something from childhood and you're bringing it back at age 40, 50, I would say that's a lot of commitment. So the podcast's aim is to do this. I am very much an extrovert that likes to have people around me. And I just kind of go through life kind of assuming that other people want the same thing. And so in the past few years, I did a kind of private summit. So I hosted it in my home. I invited podcast guests who, most of them lived in the Bay Area, so they're close by. And they come to my house, we have dinner, we have a community circle, and we do a kind of works in progress show. So we did this twice, and it was wonderful and a highlight of my year. So this year, we are aiming for it to be bigger. I'm hoping for 50 people. It's going to be in San Francisco on October 19th. It has graduated from my house. My house cannot comfortably hold 50 people seated. So we're going to do it at the San Francisco Community Music Center, which is this beautiful, wonderful music school and performance space in the heart of the Mission District. So we're going to meet up and we'll do about the same format. And we'll break out the small groups based on kind of how many people are there. I have two collaborators, Rachie Lee and Steph Wu, who are both ampersands, friends, moms. They are amazing. Rachie is a lawyer turned nonprofit executive who now runs her own company around digital wellness. And then she's also a multi-talented athlete and has been teaching various fitness classes for 20 years. She teaches spin, yoga, cross-training. And when I met her, during the pandemic, I met her because I was doing a 60-day health challenge that she was running. And then later I was like, wait, she's a lawyer? She's a law professor? Like what? And I had that, wow, ampersand. And then Steph, she and I worked together at a music app company in the early 2010s called Smule. And she is a cellist and a marketer, also has an MBA. So just amazing, amazing people. And if anybody who's listening to this wants to come to the Ampersand Summit, you can find the details on our website. So that's the ampersandmanifesto.com.
Is it a whole day? And is everybody also contributing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a half-day summit. It's going to be from 3 to 7. And we'll have food, kind of like appetizers that afternoon time. And we'll start by really getting to know each other. So this is about building real relationships. And my hope is, if you're going to do one kind of in-person event or conference this year, this is the one that moves you the most, and you'll make, one or two connections that will last outside of that space. So we'll get to know each other, and then we are going to have a works in progress show. The space has a beautiful Steinway grand piano for anybody who's going to play that. There's a stage. It'll be acoustic. I think we're not going to mess with a lot of equipment. But I think there's going to be everything from kind of movement demonstration, which involves, participation from the audience, to readings of people's novels that are currently in progress, to musical performances, and then anywhere from, hey, I want to just try this out in front of people, to, which is I would call kind of like open mic style, to, okay, this is performance ready, and here's my audience. And the works in progress performance is optional. So we do need also audience members who are very engaged and supportive. Like that, bringing that to the table is really important too.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like just you bring yourself with all your potential, and if it's business or something like dancing or making music. So what do you do there? What's your part?
So I'm going to be the MC for the Works in Progress show because that's something I love doing. TBD if I'm going to share something. Maybe we'll see. I'll decide at a later date. And then I'm organizing the event. So I don't usually call myself an event producer, but this fall I have a smaller Ampersand Summit in New York coming up this month. I have my recital on October 5th. I have the Ampersand Summit in SF on October 19th. So I am producing a lot of events. Wow. Which is really fun. I mean, there's a lot of marketing involved. There's some writing, there's some graphic design, and there's letting everybody know about it, and some like partnership opportunities, ordering food. I love that stuff, actually. It's great.
Absolutely. And it's very open. It's very, collaborative, like coming together and making music.
Yes. Yes.
You talked about your recital. So what is it?
Yeah, so I realized that actually the last solo recital I've done was in 2015. And I had a baby in 2016. So that explains maybe a little bit of why. But, I was actually I've been quite active performing. It's just I've done 2 recitals with my best friend, Tim, who's a baritone singer, Barry tenor now. So he and I have done several recitals together. I'm part of a group that performs at a winery a couple times a year. We do opera and classical music. And then I did...
What kind of pieces are you doing? So when you do opera, what kind of opera? Opera is since the 1600s?
Vast. Yeah, I'm a late romantic gal and not too modern. And also, I do sing a lot of Mozart, but a lot of the times with Mozart, it's the ensembles. So like the Mozart trios or duets. I sing quite a bit of Puccini because he is my favorite. And then I would say like Puccini's peers. So on the October 5th recital that's coming up, the theme is The Moon and Me. I realized that, one, the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival, which is a very important holiday in lots of East Asian cultures, that's happening on October 6th. And I thought, this is going to be perfect. I want to do a show around the moon. My husband actually was the one he just rattled off all the things he wanted to hear me sing. And I was like, there's a strong moon and night sky theme here.
Very romantic.
So we made a recital out of it. So on that, I'm only singing one opera aria, but it is the Song to the Moon from Rusalka by Dvorak. And then I'll have some art songs, some Strauss, again, romantic. Actually, the earliest we get in this recital is like 1880 or something. Strauss, Reynaldo Hahn, who's a wonderful French composer, French-Brazilian, I think. And then the Dvorak. And then the second half is actually all musical theater, plus the Chinese pop song.
Yeah, right. Which was also about the moon. Was this the program?
It is. The Moon and Me. Yeah.
A nice link with the beginning of our conversation.
Yes.
So is there anything that we didn't touch that you would like to share? Or is there even maybe you're also invited into other podcasts or into interviews? Is there a question that no one ever asked you, but you would like to answer it?
Oh, I'd love to get more into music because I think that is the power of music thinking. I think most of the time I'm talking about kind of my career journey and maybe more about business, coaching, podcasts, but let's dive into music stuff. I'd love to jam with you on questions around music.
Would there be a contemporary opera that you know or would like?
I would say my personal taste is that I'm in awe and admiration of more contemporary operas. You can see behind me, maybe. So for listeners, behind me is a poster. It's a signed poster from Dr. Atomic, which was a world premiere in 2005 at San Francisco Opera about Oppenheimer and the atomic bomb. It's written by John Adams, who actually lives in Berkeley. And it was directed by Peter Sellers. So that was really fun because at the time I was working at the San Francisco Opera in the marketing department. And I also got to meet Amy Tan when we did The Bonesetter's Daughter. So I'm a big fan of world premieres. I've done some work with Opera Parallel, which is this incredible contemporary opera company. But I think as a kind of like listener, I'm still me. I am stuck in the Romantic era a bit. I think where my contemporary interests lie more in is really musical theater. I'm a huge Sondheim fan. I'm a huge fan of new musicals. I'll be seeing a couple when I go to New York in a couple weeks. So musical theater is really, it is one of the places that has my heart.
Nice. It just pops up in my mind when you sing opera, and we talked about Dvorak, we talked about Mozart and Strauss. So these are also different languages. So it could be Italian, French, or German. So you sing in all these different languages?
I do. I am very good at pronouncing languages, or I like to think so, until a native speaker's in the audience, and that makes me nervous. But I don't speak German or Italian fluently. I have studied. I'm very much a beginner, nowhere near fluent. But my process for learning the music is one of word by word, phrase by phrase, sentence by sentence, section by section, whole piece, and then kind of going through from different angles. So for example, Song to the Moon, the Dvorak's in Czech. That is a language I have no kind of academic knowledge in. So when I learned that piece, probably about 15 years ago, there was a woman at my workplace who was Czech. And she gave me basically pronunciation, interpretation lessons. One-on-one, we went through word by word, sentence by sentence. I worked on it with her. So I try to approach the learning process very specifically and to get things right. That matters a lot to me. So hopefully I do it justice. But yeah, I mean, I love singing in Italian, German, French. So yeah, on this recital, I'll have German, French, Czech, English, Chinese.
Wow.
Yeah.
All these different sounds. Besides the language, the sound itself is different. So it's also like if you don't understand every word, but you can listen, or you can have joy in listening to the different sounds, and maybe also come up with your own feelings. And the question is, how does that resonate with you? And by the way, Czech, that's funny. I think Czech is the longest of the language. I have to explain. I once did design for a website that had to go live on one day in 15 different European countries. And if you have a top navigation on a website, then it's like, hey, what language do you use for design? And we know that if you take German and English is 10% smaller or shorter as German. But the longest one was the Czech one. So that's the one I still recall. I couldn't read what it was, but I knew what it was because it was like a system. And that was something like, if you want to do this, you really have to to dive into that world and try to make it live. And I think the same for the visual part also counts for the sound part. So Italian has a different color than German and all the other languages, and it's beautiful. So that you in one recital have all these colors, these different colors.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story. The one other thing I'll mention about this recital is I've realized really through the podcast and my own reflection that as an artspreneur, my mission is really to kind of open the door for people. This recital is a very beginner-friendly program, and I think about that in everything I do. I sing these pieces for me, of course. I love them, but I really sing these pieces for you. So the recital will be at my kids' school. They have a beautiful, it's their middle school campus, which used to be a chapel. So it's essentially, made for singing. And I'm inviting the entire school community. So little kids may be there, and I'm going to prepare some art supplies for them to color, the night sky.
Oh.
So I'm very, I want to be very considerate that you may have never heard any classical vocal music in your life, but this program needs to bring you in and not push you away. Like that's my goal. So it's a lot of ear candy. That's a term that my friend and I use a lot. Like Puccini arias are ear candy. Just beautiful music. I will have translations. I will talk a little bit between the pieces because it is all about engagement, right? And I think for an art form like opera or classical music, it's about bringing people in. So, yeah.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful. Really would like to go there and attend the Moon recital.
Thank you. Yes.
And also I think many people there are few less people listening to classical music, and especially not live. So also because if you talk about the opera, it's the big pieces, or you just have one area. So I think that's really something to encourage people to go to whatever it is and try to find out what it is there, how it's organized. You also can go to an opera and see from, wow, so many people on stage. Oh, and so many people under stage.
Right.
Who's behind the stage, and how do you organize this? So I think that's also can also have a pleasure of the organization of music. And there are so many Ampersand, so people that also do music. For example, we know that Einstein, when he was working, that at a certain moment he could leave his office and go to the piano or take the violin, play an hour, whatever, and then go back working without talking. So like if music, and I don't know if it's just the music making or the music listening, is really helping to sort out your left and your right brain and maybe come up with new things. Or we talk about Bill Clinton playing the saxophone. Or even I learned that Richard Nixon was a formidable piano player.
Mm. Oh, I didn't know the anecdote about Nixon.
Yeah. And I think he once played together with an orchestra. I think there's a story about it where something went wrong and he found out that most of the players were Democrats. So I don't know if this is true. So there's also a little bit of competition in some places.
Yeah. I do have a bucket list of people that I would love to interview for the Ampersand Manifesto. Stacey Abrams is on the list, American politician. She works a lot in voter rights. She is also a romance writer. Yeah. And there's a number of folks who are, made it pretty big in one career or another, and then have this whole other side to them.
Beautiful. I think we covered a lot, so thank you very much. Is there something you want to, besides all the things that you noted, I will put into the show notes, there's something that you would like to share?
I think if you are out there wanting to bring art, music, dance, expression, movement more presently into your life, I would just say that you have the power to do that. And you don't have to make it a big thing. I think that you can think about just what is the next small step I can take to make this more of a reality for me. About maybe 5 years ago, I came up with this conclusion about my life. It was that I wanted to dance as close to every day as possible. And at that point, I hadn't been dancing really since I was a child. And I think when I came up with that goal, I was thinking, oh, in my 70s or 80s. And then, around December, I just looked up dance classes near me. And now I go twice a week and I block my calendar, and it's amazing. I've probably gone to 100 classes now. And at this time last year, I hadn't even gone to one. So I think you can change your life actually pretty easily over time. And you don't have to make it a bigger deal than it has to be. Just start small.
Beautiful. Just do it. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Christoph.
Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate this because listening is one of the top leadership skills, and I feel honored about this. It is my mission to find, create, and share inspirations for meaningful collaboration based on music analogies. If you want to support this, please subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, or write a review on iTunes or Spotify. And more inspirations can be found on musicthinking.com. We have a blog, and you can download the Music Thinking Framework. And finally, I would love to hear your feedback. And if you need help with a business challenge, please reach out to me via email podcast@musicthinking.com.